What would you do if your own father looked you in the eye and said, "We all decided you're out of your sister's wedding"? After 30 years of being her protector, her best friend, her man of honor, I was suddenly the outsider. But here's the thing they didn't know. I wasn't just any guest they could dismiss. And what happened next? Well, let's just say some decisions have consequences no one sees coming. My dad looked me dead in the eye and said the words that would haunt me forever. "We all decided, Alex. You're out of your brother's big day." Wait, let me back up. Because this story isn't just about a wedding. It's about 30 years of being the dependable one, the protector, the guy everyone calls when things fall apart, and how all of that can disappear in a single conversation. My name is Alex Harper, and I'm 32 years old. I have one sister, Mia, who's 28, and she's been my world since the day she was born. When she skinned her knee at 5, I carried her home. When bullies picked on her in the middle school, I made sure they never bothered her again. When she cried over her first heartbreak at 16, I sat with her until dawn, eating ice cream and watching terrible movies. That's just who we were. Alex and Mia, the Harper siblings. Unbreakable. My dad, Richard Harper, always called us his dynamic duo. He's 63 now, works in insurance, and has always been the peacemaker in our family. Mom passed away when I was 25, and after that, the three of us got even closer. Dad always said we were all he had left, and we needed to stick together no matter what. So when Mia called me 6 months ago, practically screaming with joy that her boyfriend Ethan had finally proposed, I was the first person she told. Even before Dad. "Alex, oh my God, he did it. He actually did it. We're getting married." I could hear her crying happy tears through the phone, and I'll admit it, I got a little choked up too. My baby sister was getting married. The girl I'd protected her whole life was about to start her own family. "I'm so happy for you, Mia," I told her. "Ethan's a good guy. He better treat you like the queen you are." "He does?" she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "Alex, I need to ask you something really important." My heart stopped for a second. I knew what was coming. "Will you be my man of honor? I know it's usually a maid of honor, but you're the most important person in my life. I can't imagine doing this without you by my side." I didn't even hesitate. Of course, I'd be honored. Literally. We both laughed at the terrible pun, just like we had our whole lives. That was 6 months ago. Back when I thought I knew what family meant. Back when I believed that loyalty was a two-way street. Back when I had no idea that someone else was quietly working their way into our tight-knit circle, ready to push me out completely. His name is Jordan Matthews, and he's about to become the main character in the worst story of my life. Jordan Matthews. I need you to understand who this guy is because he's the reason everything fell apart. But first, let me tell you about the bond he destroyed. Mia and I weren't just siblings. We were partners in crime, best friends, each other's constant backup. When you lose your mom at 25 and 21, you either drift apart or become inseparable. We chose inseparable. I remember when Mia was 8 and I was 12. She came home from school crying because this kid Tyler had pulled her pigtails and called her stupid. I found Tyler the next morning at the bus stop. "Hey, Tyler," I said, walking right up to him. "I heard you like pulling hair." The kid nodded, smirking like the little bully he was. "Cool. Try pulling mine." Tyler took one look at 12-year-old me, already 5'6" and angry, and suddenly found his shoes very interesting. He never bothered Mia again. That became our thing. I protected her. She believed in me. When I was 16 and convinced I was too dumb for college, Mia spent 3 hours helping me with my SAT prep every single night for 6 months. She was only 12, but she'd sit there with flashcards making up silly songs to help me remember vocabulary words. "Alex, you're not dumb," she'd say whenever I got frustrated. "You're just thinking too hard. Smart people overthink everything." She was right. I got into state university with a decent scholarship. Mia threw me a surprise party with just the three of us, Dad, her, and me. She'd made a cake that said, "My brother the college boy," in wobbly frosting letters. When Mom got sick during my junior year, Mia was only 17, but she stepped up like she was 30. She'd drive to the hospital after school every day, sit with Mom while I was in class and Dad was working. She'd do Mom's crossword puzzles with her, paint her nails, anything to keep her spirits up. The night Mom passed, Mia and I sat in the hospital parking lot in my beat-up Honda Civic, not saying anything for the longest time. Finally, she reached over and grabbed my hand. "It's just us now," she said. "The three of us against the world." "Always," I promised her. "No matter what." After Mom's funeral, Dad kind of retreated into himself for a while. It was natural, expected. They'd been married for 28 years. But during those dark months, Mia and I became even closer. I'd drive home from college every weekend to check on both of them. Mia would call me every night, even if it was just to tell me about her day or ask for help with homework. When she graduated high school, she got into 3 different colleges. Good ones, but she chose State University, the same school I'd gone to. "Why?" I asked her. "You could go anywhere." "Because you went there," she said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "And because someday I want to be as smart and strong as my big brother." That made me cry. Actually cry. This incredible, brilliant, beautiful girl looked up to me that much. In college, we'd meet for lunch every Tuesday and Thursday between classes. We called it our sibling summits. We'd sit in the campus coffee shop and she'd tell me about her classes, her friends, the guys she was dating. I'd give her advice, probably terrible advice, but she always listened like I was some kind of oracle. When she met Ethan during her junior year, she brought him to one of our Tuesday lunches. "Alex," she said, practically glowing, "this is Ethan. Ethan, this is my brother Alex, the most important person in my life." Ethan was nervous, clearly. He shook my hand a little too firmly and kept calling me sir until I told him to knock it off. "So," I said, leaning back in my chair, "what are your intentions with my sister?" Ethan's eyes went wide. Mia kicked me under the table. "Alex, stop being weird." She laughed, but Ethan looked me straight in the eye and said, "To make her as happy as she makes me, every single day." That's when I knew he was the one. Not because of what he said, but because of how Mia's face lit up when he said it. After graduation, Mia got a job at a marketing firm downtown. I was already working at an architectural firm about 20 minutes away. We still did our sibling summits, just moved them to a restaurant near our offices. Every Tuesday and Thursday without fail. When Dad started dating again about 2 years ago, Mia and I were his biggest cheerleaders. We wanted him to be happy. We wanted him to find someone to share his life with. "He deserves love," Mia said one Tuesday over Thai food. "He gave Mom everything and then he gave us everything. It's his turn now." That's the kind of person Mia is. Pure heart, always thinking about other people first. Which is why what happened next hurt so much. Because the person who taught me about loyalty, who showed me what unconditional love looked like, was about to choose someone else over the bond we'd spent 30 years building. And it all started with a family barbecue 3 months ago, when Dad introduced us to Jordan Matthews. "Alex, Mia, I want you to meet Jordan Matthews," Dad said that sunny Saturday afternoon in May. "He's like family to me." Jordan was standing by our old barbecue grill, beer in hand, looking completely at home in our backyard. Mid-30s, perfectly styled hair, expensive polo shirt. The kind of guy who probably played golf every weekend and had opinions about wine. "Jordan and I work together," Dad continued. "Well, work together? He just started his own consulting firm. Very successful guy." Jordan walked over with this megawatt smile and shook my hand. Strong grip, direct eye contact, the whole alpha male package. "Alex, right, your dad talks about you all the time. Architect, just like him back in the day." "That's awesome, man." Then he turned to Mia, and I swear his whole energy shifted. His smile got wider, his voice got warmer. "And you must be Mia. Wow. Your dad wasn't exaggerating when he said you were beautiful." Mia blushed. Actually blushed. And I felt this weird protective twinge in my stomach. "Thank you," she said. "Dad's told us so much about you." That was a lie. Dad had never mentioned Jordan Matthews before that day. "All good things, I hope." Jordan laughed. "Your dad and I have become pretty close over the past year. He's like the father I never had." The father he never had. I filed that away for later. The rest of the barbecue was fine, I guess. Jordan was charming funny, asked all the right questions. He seemed genuinely interested in Mia's marketing work and my current project designing a community center. He told stories about his travels, his business ventures, his charity work. But something felt off. Maybe it was the way he kept gravitating toward Mia and Dad, like he was slowly inserting himself into their conversations. Maybe it was how he seemed to know a little too much about our family dynamics for someone Dad had supposedly just met. Or maybe it was the way Dad looked at him, like he was proud, like Jordan was his son. After Jordan left that night, I asked Dad about him. "Where did you guys meet exactly?" "The office," Dad said, but he was being vague. "He's a good guy, Alex, really good guy. I think you'll like him once you get to know him better." "He seems nice," Mia chimed in, "very successful and funny." 2 weeks later, Mia called with her engagement news. "We're thinking about a fall wedding," she said, still breathless with excitement. "Nothing too big, maybe 100 people. Ethan's family, our family, close friends. Something elegant, but not over the top." "That sounds perfect," I said. "What can I do to help?" "Everything," she laughed. "I have no idea how to plan a wedding. I need you to be my project manager." Project manager, that's what she called me, because that's what I'd always been for our family. When Mom was sick, I managed the hospital schedules and insurance paperwork. When Dad needed help fixing up the house after she passed, I coordinated the contractors and handled the permits. When Mia wanted to throw Dad a surprise birthday party, I planned every detail. I was the guy who made things happen. The reliable one. The one who got stuff done. "I'm honored," I told her. "Let's start with a timeline. When do you want to have everything locked down?" We spent the next 2 hours on the phone making lists. Venue, caterer, photographer, flowers, music, dress shopping, cake tasting. I was already mentally organizing spreadsheets and vendor meetings. "This is going to be the best wedding ever," Mia said as we wrapped up the call. "I can't wait to start planning with you." The next morning, I drove to 3 different venues during my lunch break, picking up brochures and pricing information. I called 4 caterers and set up tastings for the following weekend. I even researched photographers and made a list of questions to ask. This was Mia's day, her dream wedding, and I was going to make sure every detail was perfect. But when I called her that Thursday to go over what I'd found, she sounded distracted. "Oh, Alex, that's great," she said. "Actually, can we talk about this later? Jordan's taking me and Dad to look at this amazing venue he heard about. Someplace his friend owns." "Jordan," I said. "Why is Jordan involved in wedding planning?" "Dad invited him," she said. "He has a lot of experience with events through his business, and he's offering to help." Something cold settled in my stomach. "Mia, I thought I was helping you plan this." "You are. Of course you are. Jordan's just, providing some additional expertise. Dad thinks it's a great idea." After we hung up, I sat in my office staring at the venue brochures I'd collected. Additional expertise. What did that even mean? That Saturday, while they were touring venues without me, I spent 4 hours at a bridal expo collecting vendor information and getting quotes. I had meetings with 3 different florists and scheduled cake tastings at 5 different bakeries. When Mia called me Sunday night, she was over the moon. "Alex, you should see this place Jordan found. It's called Riverside Manor and it's absolutely magical. There's a garden ceremony area right by the water and the reception hall has these gorgeous chandeliers and floor-to-ceiling windows. It's like something out of a fairy tale." "That sounds amazing," I said. What's the pricing like? That's the best part. Jordan knows the owner, so we're getting a massive discount. And get this, Dad already put down the deposit. The deposit? Without me, without even seeing my research. Dad put down the deposit, I repeated. Jordan offered to coordinate it, Mia said. Since he has the connection. Isn't that sweet? He's being so helpful. Sweet. That's one word for it. What about all the other venues we are going to look at? I asked. Oh, we don't need to now. This place is perfect. Jordan says his friend who owns it is going to take care of everything. Catering, flowers, music, the whole package. It's going to be so much easier than trying to coordinate a bunch of different vendors. Easier. Without me? Mia, I said carefully. I thought we were going to plan this together. We are, she said, but I could hear her getting defensive. There's still tons to do. Dress shopping invitations, all the little details. Jordan's just helping with the big picture stuff. The big picture stuff. The important stuff. The stuff that actually mattered. That's when I knew Jordan Matthews wasn't just helping with the wedding. He was taking it over. And somehow he was taking my family with it. The family dinner that changed everything happened on a Tuesday night in July. I should have seen it coming, but I was too focused on the wedding planning to notice the trap being set. Dad had suggested we all meet at Romano's, this Italian place we'd been going to for family occasions since I was a kid. Just the family, he'd said, to celebrate Mia's engagement properly. But when I walked into the restaurant, Jordan was already there, sitting next to Dad like he belonged. Hope you don't mind, Dad said as I sat down. I invited Jordan. He's been such a huge help with the wedding planning. I figured he should be part of the family discussion. Family discussion. About a wedding I was supposed to be helping plan. Mia and Ethan arrived a few minutes later, and Mia's face lit up when she saw Jordan. Jordan, I'm so glad you're here. I have so many questions about the catering options. We ordered dinner, and for the first 20 minutes, everything seemed normal. We talked about Ethan's job, Mia's latest marketing campaign, my community center project, standard family dinner conversation. Then, Dad cleared his throat. So, he said, pulling out a folder. Jordan and I have been working on some wedding logistics, and we wanted to run everything by you two. Working on logistics. Together. Without me. Jordan opened the folder and spread out several documents on the table. Contracts, vendor agreements, payment schedules. Everything was already filled out, already signed. The venue's locked in, Jordan said, his voice taking on this professional take-charge tone. Riverside Manor ceremony at 4 reception immediately following. I've also secured the catering through a company I've worked with before. They specialize in upscale events. What about the cake tasting we scheduled for this weekend? I asked. Jordan barely glanced at me. Already handled. I know a pastry chef who does incredible work. She's going to create something custom based on Mia's preferences. How does she know Mia's preferences? I pressed. When did you talk to her about what she wants? Jordan asked me last week, Mia said. When we were looking at floral arrangements. When they were looking at floral arrangements. Another thing I'd been cut out of? The flowers are sorted too. Jordan continued sliding another contract across the table. My friend who owns the venue has a preferred florist. Very artistic, very high-end. They're going to do something spectacular. I looked at the contract. The deposit had already been paid. By Dad. Photography, Jordan said, producing yet another signed agreement. I know a guy who shoots for elite weddings all over the state. He's booked solid, but he owes me a favor. He's giving us his premium package at a discount. What about the photographers we were going to interview? I asked. This time Jordan did look at me and his smile was sharp. Alex, I appreciate that you want to help, but wedding planning is actually pretty complex. It's not just about making phone calls and collecting brochures. You need relationships, industry connections, experience with high-end events. High-end events, like I was some amateur who didn't understand quality. Jordan's right, Dad said, and those 2 words hit me like a punch to the gut. This isn't like planning a birthday party or a barbecue. This is Mia's wedding day. It needs to be perfect. I want it to be perfect too, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. That's why I've been researching vendors and setting up meetings. And that's been helpful, Jordan said in this patronizing tone. Really, but at some point you need professionals to take over. People who know what they're doing. People who know what they're doing. As opposed to me, apparently. The music's handled too, Dad said, sliding another contract toward Mia. Jordan knows a DJ who's worked some really impressive events, corporate galas, charity fundraisers. He's going to bring a full sound system and lighting package. Actually, I said, I found this great band that plays jazz and blues. They had amazing reviews and their price was really reasonable. A band, Jordan laughed. Mia, you don't want a band. Bands are unpredictable. They take breaks, they have technical issues, they play their own interpretations of songs. A professional DJ can read the room, adjust the energy, keep people dancing all night. Mia looked uncertain. I don't know, I kind of like the idea of live music. Trust me, Jordan said, reaching over to squeeze her hand. I've been to hundreds of weddings, the ones people remember, the ones that really work. They all have professional DJs. Hundreds of weddings. When had Jordan become the expert on everything? What about transportation? I asked. I was looking into hiring a classic car for the ceremony. Limo service, Dad said immediately. Jordan's company has a corporate account with a luxury transportation company. They're going to provide a stretch limo for the wedding party and a sedan for family. I thought Mia might want something more personal, I said. More unique. Unique is great for small details, Jordan said. But for major logistics, you want reliability. You want professionals who won't let you down. There was that word again. Professionals. The implication being that I wasn't one. By the time dinner arrived, every major aspect of the wedding had been decided, contracted, and paid for, without my input, without my research, without me. This is incredible, Mia said, looking through all the contracts. Jordan, I can't believe you put all this together so quickly. It's my pleasure, he said. Your dad and I just want your day to be perfect. Your dad and I, like they were a team, like they were the real family. What about the bachelor and bachelorette parties? Ethan asked. Oh, I've got some ideas for that too, Jordan said. There's this great winery about 2 hours north. They do private tastings and have a beautiful event space. I could arrange something really special. Actually, I said, I was thinking we could do something more low-key. Maybe rent a cabin by the lake, do some fishing, have a bonfire. Something that's more Ethan style. Ethan nodded enthusiastically. That sounds perfect, actually. I'm not really a winery guy. Jordan's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. Well, he said, we can certainly discuss options. Though I should mention the winery has some corporate connections that might be valuable for Ethan's career. Corporate connections. Everything with Jordan came back to business, to networking, to what he could provide. As we finished dinner, Dad pulled out his credit card to pay the check. This one's on me, he said. Consider it part of the wedding gift. Dad, you don't have to do that, Mia protested. I want to, he said. Jordan's been helping me understand what a wedding this size actually costs, and I want to contribute properly. Jordan's been helping him understand. Not me. Not the son who'd helped him with every major decision for the past 7 years. As we walked out to the parking lot, Jordan pulled Dad aside for what looked like an intense conversation. I caught fragments. Need to be realistic about the budget. Alex means well, but leave it to the professionals. That night, I called Mia. Hey, I said, can we talk about what happened at dinner? What about it? She asked, but I could hear the defensiveness in her voice already. I feel like I'm being pushed out of the wedding planning, I said. Everything's been decided without me. Alex, that's not true. You're still my man of honor. You're still the most important person in the wedding party. But I'm not involved in any of the actual decisions. There was a long pause. Maybe that's for the best, she said finally. Jordan and Dad have connections experience. They can get us things we couldn't get on our own. Things we couldn't get on our own. Things I couldn't get for her. I just want to help make your day special, I said. I know, she said, and her voice softened. And you will. There's still lots to do. Dress shopping, invitation, design, all the personal touches. Personal touches. The small stuff. The stuff that didn't really matter. After we hung up, I sat in my apartment staring at the wedding planning binder I'd put together. Pages of research vendor comparisons, budget, breakdowns, timeline, schedules. All of it useless now. Jordan had swept in with his connections and his professional expertise and his corporate accounts, and suddenly I was the amateur. The well-meaning brother who didn't understand how real weddings worked. But this wasn't about wedding planning anymore. This was about something much bigger, much more painful. This was about being replaced. The exclusion didn't happen all at once. It was gradual, surgical, like being slowly edited out of your own family's story. First, it was the venue walkthrough. Mia mentioned it casually during one of our Tuesday lunches 3 weeks after the Romano's dinner. Jordan's taking us to see the reception set up this Saturday, she said, picking at her salad. The owner wants to show us the different lighting options. Us? I asked. Me, Ethan, Dad, and Jordan? She said, not meeting my eyes. It's just a quick technical meeting. Pretty boring stuff. Technical meeting about her wedding that I was supposedly helping plan. I could come, I offered. I'd like to see the space. Oh, it's really not necessary, she said quickly. Jordan says it's better to keep these vendor meetings small. Too many people asking questions just confuses things. Too many people. I was too many people. The next week, it was the cake tasting. How did it go? I asked when Mia called me Sunday night. Oh my God, Alex, the cakes were incredible. Jordan's pastry chef friend is an artist. We tried 7 different flavors, and each one was better than the last. That sounds amazing, I said. Which one did you choose? We're going with this 3-tier design, she said, and I could hear the excitement in her voice. Vanilla lavender on the bottom, lemon raspberry in the middle, and chocolate salted caramel on top. And the decoration is going to be these sugar flowers that look exactly like real peonies. Wow, I said. I would have loved to see that. There was a pause. Yeah, it was really last minute, she said. Jordan got a cancellation slot and we had to jump on it. But I took pictures I'll show you next time I see you. Pictures of my sister's wedding cake tasting that I found out about after the fact. By August, I realized I wasn't getting invited to anything anymore. The florist consultation happened without me. The menu tasting happened without me. The final venue walkthrough happened without me. But the worst part wasn't just being excluded. It was how natural it seemed to everyone else. Like I'd never been part of the planning process to begin with. Jordan's been such a godsend, Dad said during a phone call in mid-August. He handles everything so smoothly. Mia doesn't have to stress about any of the details. I could help with the details, I said. I know you could, son, Dad said, but his tone was gentle, dismissive. But Jordan's got it covered. He's a natural at this stuff. A natural. Unlike me, apparently. The family group chat told the story even more clearly. It had started as just the 4 of us, me, Mia, Dad, and Ethan. Updates about wedding planning, scheduling, family dinners, sharing funny articles or photos. Sometime in July, Jordan had been added to the chat. At first, his messages were occasional. Great, seeing everyone at dinner. Or, thanks for including me in the planning. But by August, he was driving most of the conversation. Vendor meeting moved to 2 p.m. Saturday. Confirmed final guest count with caterer. Photographer wants to scout ceremony site next week. And everyone responded to him. Not to me, to Jordan. Perfect, thanks for handling that. From Mia. You're the best. From Dad. Really appreciate you coordinating everything. From Ethan. I started feeling like a stranger reading updates about someone else's wedding, someone else's family. The breaking point came on a Thursday in late August. I was having lunch at my desk scrolling through the group chat when I saw a message that made my blood run cold. Jordan. Final headcount meeting with venue coordinator tomorrow at 3. We'll confirm all details and finalize seating arrangements. Tomorrow. Friday. During my work hours, but I could have taken time off if I'd been invited. I typed back, "What time works for everyone? I can adjust my schedule." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Jordan. This is really just logistics, Alex. Boring spreadsheet stuff. You don't need to worry about it. I stared at my phone. Seating arrangements for my sister's wedding. Boring spreadsheet stuff that I didn't need to worry about. I called Mia. "Hey," I said when she picked up. "I saw Jordan's message about the meeting tomorrow." "Yeah," she said, and I could hear that defensive tone creeping in again. "It's just finalizing numbers with the venue. Mia, I'm your man of honor. Don't I need to know where people are sitting?" "Of course," she said. "Jordan will send you the final chart once it's done." Jordan will send me the final chart of my sister's wedding that I'm supposed to be helping organize. "Why am I not included in these meetings anymore?" I asked. "Alex, you are included. You're included in all the important stuff." "What's the important stuff?" I asked. Because apparently venue meetings, vendor coordination, and seating arrangements don't qualify. "That's not fair," she said, and now she sounded upset. "You know how much you mean to me. You know how important you are in this wedding." "Do I asked, because I feel like I'm being treated like a guest, not like your man of honor." "That's ridiculous," she said. "You're being dramatic." Dramatic. That's what I was being. "Mia, I've been cut out of every single planning decision. I find out about meetings after they happen. I get updates about your wedding from group chat messages. How is that not being excluded?" "Because Jordan and Dad have relationships with these vendors?" she said, her voice getting sharper. "They know how this stuff works. They can get us deals and handle complications. It's not personal, Alex. It's just practical." Practical, not personal. "What about dress shopping?" I asked. "We talked about doing that together." We are doing that together," she said. "This weekend, remember?" I didn't remember because no one had told me. "What time?" I asked. She paused. "Actually, we might need to reschedule. Jordan's sister-in-law is in town and she used to work in fashion. She offered to come along and give professional advice." Jordan's sister-in-law. A stranger, giving professional advice about my sister's wedding dress. "So, I'm being replaced by Jordan's sister-in-law now." "Alex, you're not being replaced by anyone," Mia said, but she sounded tired. "You're being weird about this. Jordan is helping us. Dad trusts him. Why can't you just be grateful?" "Grateful. I should be grateful that my role in my sister's life was being systematically dismantled. I just want to be part of this," I said quietly. "You are part of this," she said. "You're my brother. You're my man of honor. That hasn't changed." But it had changed. Everything had changed. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and looked at the wedding planning folder I'd created 6 months earlier. Budget spreadsheets, vendor research timeline, documents, contact lists. Hundreds of hours of work that had become completely irrelevant. I closed the laptop and sat in my office staring out the window at the city below. Somewhere across town, my dad and my sister in Jordan were planning a wedding without me. Making decisions about photographers and flowers and seating charts, handling logistics. I wasn't qualified to understand building relationships I couldn't access. And I was sitting alone in my office realizing that being someone's brother, being family, being there for 30 years, didn't guarantee you a place at the table. Not when someone better came along. Someone more professional, more connected, more valuable. Someone like Jordan Matthews who seemed to be everything I wasn't, and everything my family apparently needed. By September, I'd made a decision. If I couldn't be part of the wedding planning, I'd find another way to show Mia how much she meant to me. I was going to give her something Jordan couldn't arrange with his connections. Something personal, something that came from 30 years, of being her brother. It started with a memory from when Mia was 15. She'd come home from school crying because her best friend had moved to California. She was devastated, convinced she'd never see her again, convinced no one would ever understand her the way Emma did. I found her in her room that night, looking through a shoebox of photos and letters. "You know what Mom always said about real friendship?" I asked, sitting on the edge of her bed. "What?" she sniffled. "That distance doesn't matter when love is real. And someday when something really important happens in your life, the people who matter will find a way to be there." Mia looked up at me. "You think Emma will come to my wedding?" "I think Emma will move mountains to be at your wedding," I said. "And if she can't, I'll move them for her." It was a throwaway comment, the kind of thing big brothers say to comfort their little sisters. But as I sat in my apartment in September planning my surprise, I remembered that promise. Emma Patterson was living in San Diego now, working as a pediatric nurse. She and Mia had stayed in touch through social media, but they hadn't seen each other in person in 5 years. I found Emma on Instagram, sent her a direct message, and explained the situation. Her response came back within an hour. "Oh my God, yes, I've been saving vacation days. This is exactly what I want to use them for." But bringing Emma to the wedding was just the beginning of my plan. I spent the next 3 weeks putting together what I called Mia's memory box. I drove to our old neighborhood and took photos of the house where we grew up, the elementary school where I used to walk her every morning, the park where we spent countless summer afternoons. I tracked down our old neighbors, the Hendersons, who still had the tire swing I'd hung in their backyard when Mia was 8. Mrs. Henderson remembered everything. She even had photos from Mia's 9th birthday party, the one where it rained and we moved the whole celebration into their garage. I collected ticket stubs from every movie we'd seen together, programs from her high school plays, the menu from Romano's with all our family celebration meals. I found the card she'd written me when I graduated college, the one that said, "You're not just my brother, you're my hero." The centerpiece was a photo album I'd been working on for months. Every important moment from our childhood, teenage years, college. Pictures of us at Christmas mornings, birthday parties, family vacations. Pictures of Mia in her cap and gown at graduation with me, standing next to her grinning like an idiot. Pictures of the two of us building a snowman the winter after Mom died, both of us covered in snow and laughing despite everything. Each photo had a handwritten note underneath. Not sentimental poetry, just simple memories. "You were 7 here. You insisted on wearing your ballet tutu to the grocery store for 3 months straight. This was the day you learned to drive. You cried when you parallel parked perfectly on the first try. Mom took this picture. She said we looked like we were plotting world domination. She wasn't wrong. The final page was a letter I'd written to her. 3 pages front and back, telling her everything I'd never said out loud. How proud I was of the woman she'd become. How watching her grow up had been the greatest privilege of my life. How her happiness mattered more to me than anything in the world. I ended the letter with a promise. No matter what changes, no matter who comes into your life, no matter where life takes us, you will always have a brother who loves you unconditionally. Always. The whole package was going to cost me about $3,000. Emma's flight, her hotel room for the weekend, a nice dinner for the 3 of us the night before the wedding. It was worth every penny. I planned to give Mia the memory box on what I thought of as our last sibling summit before she became a married woman. Just the 2 of us, like old times, going through 30 years of memories and talking about the future. I texted her on a Wednesday in late September, "Hey, want to do dinner Friday night, just us? I have something special I want to share with you." She texted back, "Of course I've been missing our one-on-one time. Romano's at 7. Romano's. Perfect. The place where we'd celebrated every important moment in our family's life." I spent Thursday night wrapping the memory box in the paper we'd used for Christmas presents when we were kids, complete with a bow that said, "For my sister," in my terrible handwriting. Friday evening, I arrived at Romano's early, clutching the memory box and feeling more nervous than I had in years. This was my chance to remind Mia of who we were to each other. This was my chance to show her that blood mattered more than business connections. She walked in 5 minutes late, looking beautiful, but distracted. She hugged me, but it felt hurried. Sorry I'm late, she said as we sat down. Jordan wanted to go over the final timeline for the wedding day. Did you know there are 17 different things that have to happen between the ceremony and the reception? 17. Jordan. Of course. That sounds complicated, I said. It is, but Jordan has it all mapped out. He created this spreadsheet that tracks every single detail. It's honestly incredible how organized he is. I nodded and smiled, pushing down the familiar sting of being compared to Jordan's superior skills. We ordered dinner, and for the first few minutes it felt like old times. Mia told me about a difficult client at work, asked about my latest project. We laughed about a viral video she'd seen, discussed our plans for Dad's upcoming birthday. But I could tell she was distracted. She kept checking her phone, kept bringing the conversation back to wedding logistics. Jordan thinks we should do the first dance before dinner, she said as our appetizers arrived. That way, people are still energized from the ceremony, but the venue coordinator suggested doing it after dinner, when everyone's more relaxed. What do you think? What did I think? I thought I'd been excluded from every other wedding decision. So why was my opinion suddenly relevant? Whatever makes you happy, I said. That's not helpful, Alex, she said, but she was smiling. I need an actual opinion. I looked at my sister, really looked at her and saw something I hadn't noticed before. She looked tired, stressed. There were circles under her eyes, and her hands had that restless energy they got when she was overwhelmed. Are you okay? I asked. Yeah, of course, she said automatically. Just wedding planning stress. Jordan says it's normal. He's been through this with lots of clients. Clients. That's what she was now. Mia, I said carefully, are you happy? What kind of question is that? She laughed, but it sounded forced. Of course I'm happy. I'm marrying the love of my life in 6 weeks. That's not what I meant, I said. Are you happy with how the planning is going? Are you getting the wedding you actually want? She put down her fork and looked at me. Why would you ask that? Because you seem stressed, I said, and because I feel like I don't know anything about your wedding anymore. I feel like you don't know anything about your wedding anymore. That's ridiculous, she said, but her voice was getting tight. I know everything about my wedding. Jordan keeps me informed about every detail. When's the last time you made a decision about your own wedding? I asked. She opened her mouth to answer, then closed it. Jordan makes suggestions based on his experience, she said finally. Dad and I discuss them and we decide together. When's the last time you decided something without Jordan's input? Alex, what is this about? She asked, and now she was definitely getting defensive. Are you still upset about the planning thing? I thought we talked about this. We did talk about it, I said, but I don't think anything changed. Because there's nothing to change, she said. Jordan is helping us. Dad trusts him. Ethan likes him. Why can't you just accept that? That's when I pulled out the memory box. Because I love you, I said, sliding it across the table. And I wanted to give you something that comes from that love, not from business connections or professional expertise. Mia looked at the wrapped box, and for just a moment her expression softened. Alex, what is this? Open it, I said. She unwrapped it carefully, the way she'd unwrapped presents since she was little. When she saw the photo album on top, her eyes filled with tears. Oh my God, she whispered, opening to the first page. Look how little I was. For the next 20 minutes, we went through the album together. She laughed at the photos, cried at the notes, told me she remembered things I'd forgotten, and forgotten things I remembered perfectly. When she got to the letter, she read it silently, tears streaming down her face. Alex, she said when she finished, this is the most beautiful thing anyone's ever given me. There's more, I said, and told her about Emma. You flew Emma here, she gasped, for my wedding. She lands tomorrow afternoon, I said. I thought you two could have some girl time before the big day. Mia reached across the table and grabbed my hands. I can't believe you did this, she said. This is incredible. This is perfect. For a moment, sitting there, in Romano's, with my sister holding my hands and tears in her eyes, I thought everything was going to be okay. I thought I'd found my way back into her life. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at it automatically and I watched her face change. "Oh," she said, pulling her hands back. "Jordan's calling. It might be about the rehearsal dinner logistics." "Can it wait?" I asked. She hesitated, looking between me and the phone. "It's just," she said, "he said he might need to confirm some vendor details tonight for tomorrow's timeline meeting." Timeline meeting on Saturday that I hadn't been told about. "Take it," I said quietly. She answered the phone. "Hey, Jordan, what's up?" I sat there listening to half a conversation about vendor confirmations and timeline adjustments and logistics coordination, watching my sister's attention disappear into Jordan's world of professional wedding management. When she hung up, she looked apologetic, but distracted. "Sorry about that," she said. "Where were we?" But the moment was gone. The connection was broken. "Actually," I said, standing up, "I should probably head home. Early morning tomorrow." "Are you sure?" she asked, but she was already putting the memory box back together. "We could get dessert. Keep looking through photos." "It's okay," I said. "I'm just glad you liked it." She hugged me goodbye, and it felt real warm, like the sister I'd grown up with. "Thank you, Alex," she whispered. "This means everything to me." As I walked to my car, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe the memory box had worked. Maybe I'd reminded her of what we meant to each other. Maybe there was still time to fix this. I had no idea that in less than 24 hours, I'd discover there was nothing left to fix. Saturday afternoon, I was at the airport waiting for Emma's flight when my phone rang. Dad's name on the screen. "Hey, Dad," I answered. "What's up, Alex?" he said, and something in his tone made me straighten up. "We need to talk. Can you come by the house? I'm actually picking up a surprise for Mia," I said. "Remember Emma, her best friend from high school? I flew her in for the wedding." Silence on the other end. "Dad, he paused. "That's what we need to talk about, son. Come home. Now." The drive from the airport to Dad's house felt like the longest 30 minutes of my life. Emma chatted excitedly about seeing Mia, about the wedding, about how sweet it was that I'd arranged this surprise. I smiled and nodded, but my stomach was churning. Dad's house looked normal from the outside. Same blue shutters, same flower beds Mom had planted 15 years ago. But when I walked through the front door with Emma, I knew immediately that something was very, very wrong. Dad was sitting in his living room. Mia was there, still in her work clothes. Ethan was on the couch next to her, looking uncomfortable, and Jordan was standing by the window, arms crossed, wearing an expression I'd never seen before. "Emma," Mia jumped up, and for a second her face lit up with genuine joy. They hugged, both of them crying a little, and I felt that flicker of hope again. "Mia, you look incredible," Emma said. "I can't believe you're getting married. This is so exciting." "I can't believe Alex flew you here," Mia said, wiping her eyes. "This is the best surprise ever." "Actually," Dad said, standing up, "that's what we need to discuss." The room went quiet. Emma looked confused. I felt like I was about to throw up. "What's going on?" I asked. Dad looked at Jordan, who nodded slightly. "Alex," Dad said, "we've been talking, and we've decided that it might be best if you step back from the wedding." The words hit me like a physical blow. Step back. "From the wedding party," Jordan said, his voice calm and professional. "We think it would be less stressful for everyone if you attended as a guest." I stared at my sister. Mia, she wouldn't meet my eyes. "It's not personal, Alex," she said quietly. "It's just there's been so much tension, and Jordan thinks it would be smoother if—" "Jordan thinks," I interrupted. "Jordan thinks I should be removed from my own sister's wedding." "No one's being removed," Dad said firmly. "You're still invited. You're still family. You're just not going to be in the wedding party." not going to be in the wedding party, not going to be Mia's man of honor, not going to stand next to her as she got married. Why? I asked, and I could hear my voice cracking. Because you've been disruptive, Jordan said, stepping forward. You've questioned every decision, undermined the planning process, created unnecessary drama. Mia's wedding day should be about her happiness, not managing your feelings. My feelings, I said. I've been trying to help plan this wedding for 6 months. Help, Jordan laughed, and the sound was sharp. Alex, you've been trying to control this wedding. You've been resentful that professionals took over, jealous that your little spreadsheets weren't needed anymore. That's not true, I said, but even as I said it, I wondered if it was. You flew in a guest without consulting anyone, Jordan continued. You gave Mia that emotional manipulation disguised as a gift, trying to make her feel guilty about the planning decisions. Emotional manipulation, I turned to Mia. Is that what you think the memory box was? No, she said quickly. But Alex, you have been making this harder than it needs to be. How have I made it harder? By fighting every suggestion, Dad said. By questioning every vendor choice. By making Mia feel like she has to choose between her family and her wedding. She doesn't have to choose, I said. I never asked her to choose. Yes, you did, Mia said, and finally looked at me. Every time you complained about Jordan's involvement, every time you questioned his expertise, every time you made me feel guilty for accepting help. I wasn't making you feel guilty, I said. I was trying to be part of your life. You are part of my life, she said, tears starting to fall. But you can't be the only part. You can't be the center of everything anymore. The center of everything, like I'd been some kind of controlling monster instead of a brother who loved her. We all decided, Dad said, and those 3 words landed like a death sentence. It's what's best for everyone. We all decided, I repeated. Who's we? Your father, Mia, Ethan, and myself, Jordan said. The people actually involved in making this wedding happen. Not me. I wasn't involved in making this wedding happen. Emma, who had been standing there in shocked silence, finally spoke up. I'm sorry, she said. I feel like I should leave. This is obviously a family matter. No, I said quickly. You came here for Mia. Stay with Mia. Actually, Jordan said, that's another issue. Hotel accommodations for unexpected guests put additional strain on the budget and logistics. Additional strain. Emma, Mia's childhood best friend, was additional strain. I paid for her hotel, I said. Without coordinating with the wedding planners, Jordan replied. What if she has dietary restrictions the caterer needs to know about? What if she needs transportation to the venue? What if her presence affects the seating arrangements we finalized yesterday? Yesterday, the meeting I hadn't been invited to. I can handle my own dietary restrictions, Emma said quietly, and I can get my own transportation. I didn't come here to cause problems. Of course you didn't, Mia said, reaching for Emma's hand. Alex, no one's saying Emma can't come to the wedding. Just that I can't be in it, I said. Alex, Dad said, and his voice was gentle now, the way it used to be when I was little and had scraped my knee. You're 32 years old. It's time to accept that you're not the most important person in Mia's life anymore. Not the most important person in Mia's life anymore? I looked around the room. At Dad, who had replaced me with Jordan as his co-planner and confidant. At Mia, who had replaced me with Jordan as her wedding coordinator and advisor. At Ethan, who barely knew me anymore because I'd been systematically excluded from everything. At Jordan, who was looking at me with something that might have been pity. I never wanted to be the most important person, I said quietly. I just wanted to be important enough to matter. You do matter, Mia said, crying harder now. Alex, you'll always matter to me. Just not enough to include me in your wedding. You're included, she insisted. You'll be there. You'll dance with me. You'll give a toast if you want to. If I want to. Like it was my choice to be downgraded from man of honor to guest with speaking privileges. I looked at my sister, really looked at her and saw something that broke my heart completely. Relief? She was relieved. Relieved that the tension was over, that the decision had been made, that she didn't have to manage my feelings anymore. I was her burden, her obligation, the needy older brother who couldn't accept that she'd outgrown him. Okay, I said. Everyone looked surprised. Okay, Dad asked. Okay, I repeated. I understand. You're right. This is Mia's day, and she should have the wedding she wants with the people she wants involved. Alex, Mia started, but I held up my hand. I hope it's everything you dreamed of, I said. I hope Jordan's planning makes it perfect. I turned to Emma. I'm sorry I put you in this situation, but I'm glad you're here for Mia. She's lucky to have a friend like you. Emma hugged me, and I could feel her shaking. This isn't right, she whispered in my ear. It's what they want, I whispered back. I walked toward the door, then turned back one more time. Dad, I said. Jordan, congratulations on the wedding. I'm sure it'll be beautiful. Alex, wait, Mia called, but I was already walking out the door. I sat in my car in Dad's driveway for a long time, staring at the house I'd grown up in, watching the lights come on as the sun set. Inside that house, my family was planning a wedding without me. Making final decisions, handling last-minute details, managing logistics, I wasn't qualified to understand. And for the first time in 30 years, I wasn't invited to be part of it. I started the car and drove home past the park where Mia and I used to play, past the school where I used to walk her every morning, past Romano's, where we'd shared thousands of meals and made millions of memories. Their decision had shattered 30 years of us. 30 years of being Alex and Mia, the Harper siblings, the dynamic duo. But this isn't the end of the story, because sometimes when people decide you're not important enough to include the universe, has a way of showing them exactly how wrong they are. And sometimes the person they pushed out was the only one holding everything together. What do you think about the choice my family made? Have you ever been excluded from something that mattered to you? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to hear what happened next. Because trust me, you're going to want to hear what happened next.